um, help Dick
Yeah,
along the way, that'd be great.
I'll do the roll call, and once you get started, I'll circle back with him.
Awesome.
Mr. Schulman?
Here.
Let's see, Mr. Bryce,
Here.
Ms. Jordan Byron,
Present.
Ms. Lingalis,
Here.
Ms. Linkowski,
Here.
and Mr. Cantor.
Here.
Okay, have a quorum.
Adam speaking.
Awesome. First on the agenda is 2024-53 SPR. Jonah Godoy, sorry if I mispronounced your name, for 3 Raymond Terrace. Do we have that applicant here?
I don't see your Nick. I don't know if you want to move to the next one. I'll try to
Move to the
get.
next one. Let's go 2024-61 On Point Archery, 170 Main Street. Brian or Steve, are you kicking this one off?
We have the applicant here, Mr. Garbera.
Oh, awesome. Well, hand it over to you, y'all.
Oh, my turn to talk? Sorry.
No worries. Yes, sir.
Okay. Super long story short, I'm a Norwalk guy. I'm a retired Norwalk cop, and I'm opening an archery retail store on Main Street, right across from Dairy King on the corner of Center Ave and Main Ave. And the building's an older building. It has a giant basement, and I plan on putting an archery range down there. And when I was initially speaking with Ben from the traffic management office, we were just going to use it to sight in bows that customers make purchases. But then it dawned on me that, this could be like a destination place. People come because there's literally nowhere in Fairfield County to practice archery. So if people come down, when they buy equipment, they're going to be looking to hopefully shoot it, since there's not a whole lot of locations. And then additionally, if other people who already have equipment, they come down, it's going to bring them into the area more. I had completed a parking and traffic management plan because the one concern was that historically this building's retail space only occupied the first floor. So doing something in the basement, obviously increase people, increase traffic, increase parking. So DTS Provident completed a parking and traffic study. Hopefully you have copies of that. It got forwarded out to not only the traffic management office at Norwalk City Hall, but as well as the zoning department. And essentially, we're not a giant facility. We're 1,500 square feet of retail on the first floor, and then about roughly a little bit less than 1,500 in the basement, with even running full steam at 4 archery lanes. If there were 4 people shooting there, myself as the one-man show employee, and say 1 retail customer doing some shopping, we're still at 6 people, assuming 1 person per car. That's 6 cars, and we're allotted via the zoning regulations 5.67 parking spaces. So round up to that figure 6. It is my hope with my application that you guys will approve this, what's called recreational destination use, which I'm assuming is kind of like a bowling alley or something like that. So before this commission, to kind of help with any questions anyone might have, if you look on the screen, Mr. Hank Yasik is my consultant that I've hired to help me stand this up. He's kind of the subject matter expert in all things archery range, archery retail. We are not dealing in firearms. We are solely a archery destination store. And I'm more than happy, as my wife, Claire, here too, my partner in crime. Anything you guys might have questions, I'm more than happy to field them. And so is Mr. Yasik.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And let the record show that Commissioner Rowena has joined us as well. Does staff have anything they wanted to add, or we can open it up to questions from the commission?
Just that, like Mr. Garbera said, they submitted the parking study. TMP took a look at it and they had no issues with it. So from our end, there's no issues with the parking capacity on the site.
Guess over to the commission. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns that they want to ask about?
Yes, I have a question.
Go ahead, JJ.
What kind of safety measures will you have built into your establishment?
Okay, so video surveillance, not only on the first floor, but for a total of 8 cameras. Not only going to be cameras on the range, There's also gonna be cameras on the shooting area. I am a trained emergency medical responder, so God forbid anything goes awry. Obviously, I respond, take care of any potential issues in addition to calling 911. I'm currently in the process of becoming a USA Archery Level 1 certified instructor. So obviously the range is going to be set up with the best safety practices as dictated by USA Archery.
Tell them you're a Marine and you're
So sir, you mentioned that you're basically a one-man operation.
Yes.
So in the event of an emergency, and who else will be assisting you in this medical event?
So so I have the way the video surveillance is going to be set up is anything that's transpired. Obviously, number one, anyone that comes that to shoot, they have safety. They have to pass what's an archery safety course prior to shooting on the range. So best safety practices. That includes even seasoned archers. They're gonna have to complete our class and our course, so they're familiar with our safety protocols. And then the way that the retail floor is gonna be set up, there's an office and there's a counter. That's gonna be the home base for the video surveillance. So obviously, while anyone is shooting on the range, we're gonna have live view of anything that could be going on. And if for some reason something did go awry, needless to say, anything going on the first floor kind of gets thrown out the window, and I'm running down the basement to take care of business.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions? Nope.
If there are no other questions from any of the commissioners, I do have a follow-up.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is the age of the participants that you're looking to offer your services to?
So as far as from the range, we cater to the youth archer as well as to 99, as old as you want to be. We're happy to get anyone involved in archery. The one caveat to that is, should a youth want to participate in range time, they have to be supervised by a guardian. And they will not be allowed on the range unless they have that direct one-on-one supervision down there. But I got my kids involved in archery at a super young age. They were probably 6 or 7 years old. Now, the equipment, I feel must be said that the equipment you're using when you're 6 or 7 is not of any real danger. There's safety tip arrows. The bows are not very strong. I mean, those types of individuals are shooting at like 5 or 6 yards. So that's how that would transpire.
What is the name of the business that you're directly next to?
There's a new barber shop that just opened up. I believe it's something Dimension. It literally just opened last week. But I'm in touch with the owner there. We text message regularly. He knows everything that's going on. Obviously, should he have any issues or concerns, he can reach out to me at any point. And then the other side, we're right on the corner. So the other side is Center Avenue.
Right, so you have your own parking.
Well, so my building, unfortunately, is so old that the parking that we have to the rear of our building is kind of a one driveway, one shot. And the spots that we were allotted are actually to the rear of what they call the 170 to 178 main parking plaza, which includes like Steve's Welding and there's a variety store and a Mexican restaurant and those kinds of things. So that large lot behind there, that's where our parking spaces are drawn from.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Any other questions? Seeing none, I guess, Brian, Steve, like a motion, we need a motion to approve this?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't
Okay.
prepare a resolution, just a simple motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a motion?
Motion
Also
to
move.
approve.
We'll go with Tammy made the original, and we'll go with Chapin on the second. With that, all in favor, I think we do this with a show of hands. All in favor, say, raise your hand if you're in favor.
Can you see?
Lou, we can't see you if you just want to tell us yay or nay.
My hand is raised.
Amazing. So with that, I think that's unanimous. So thank you, welcome, and wish you the best of luck.
Wait, can I just throw one more piece in there?
Of course.
So about 3 doors down is LeCarry Floral Design. I don't know if you guys know JP. I've known JP for a long time. So I wound up jumping into his building, just kind of touching base with him about the goings on Main Street. And I know they're doing like a Main Street stroll. I think the 5th of December, 7th of December down Main Street. I'm hoping to get my doors open in time. If not, if you guys in any way participate in that, please, by all means, stop in, say, hey, we'll have hot cocoa for you guys. But I'm also really hoping that this business brings more people to that area, especially JP's store and everybody else's store, because there's a ton of restaurants. So we would be one of like really the only retail, and I'm super excited. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
No, best of luck.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Maybe we'll have an outing there.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be great.
I think it's okay that he offered you hot chocolate after you voted, so. he didn't-
So Nick, I have a question.
Oh,
I
yes.
haven't- I haven't been seated, so I don't know if I can vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I should have seated you earlier. Because I think we have room.
Yes,
So
Yep.
you're seated for
Okay,
the evening.
okay, thank you.
My apologies.
That's okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. On to the next. Next on the agenda is 2024 48 SPR Cam 153 East Ave. I think I heard Attorney Blank on the line.
I'm here.
Awesome. Attorney Blank, over to you.
All right, great. Thank you, Chairman Cantor. So Adam Blank, attorney for the applicant 153 East Ave LLC. I live here in Norwalk. And 153 East Ave is the owner of 153 East Ave. With me tonight presenting is Vince Hines, the engineer. Ray Sullivan, do I see Ray? Oh, yep, there he is. Ray Sullivan, the architect, Earl Govan, the landscape architect, and Rob Colgan, the property, on behalf of the property owner, is here. Rob's not going to present, but he can answer any questions that might arise for the owner. If I can share my screen, start with an aerial. That show up for you folks?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, great. So here's, you can sort of 6 shares the parking lot, but we're really dealing with just 153 East Avenue. Rob and his entities happen to also own 6 Eversley. So we're on the corner of East Avenue and Eversley with the river down here. And, you know, here's City Hall. So it's that back entrance that many of you are probably familiar with to get into City Hall. That's the existing building. The plan is to convert this from a professional office building to a mixed-use building, retaining the professional office on the first floor and making the upper 2 floors residential. When you look at it from East Avenue, 3 stories, first floor, we're not demoing the building remains. First floor stays professional office, and the upper 2 floors become 18 units of multifamily or apartment housing. We hope you'll approve this evening. It's a coastal area management application and site plan. We do have a sign off from TMP and the health department. There were comments from DPW, which we don't anticipate any issues complying with. We're awaiting sign offs from the fire marshal, WPCA, and building. Don't expect issues with them. It's just, you know, trying to get them to sign off is sometimes hard to get their attention. So we don't have those quite yet. That can be a condition of approval. Again, corner of East Ave and Eversley. It's the CD3 under your new regs. It's also the East Avenue Village District Overlay Zone and the Coastal Area Management Zone. Property's about 0.85 acres. As you can kind of see from this picture here, it's a building which is pervious or impervious. A lot of asphalt up front, asphalt all along the side, and just a large swath of asphalt for a parking area. When you look from Eversley, you can see sort of the asphalt goes right up against the 6 Eversley building and straight up against our building and all the way down. So there's almost no green or pervious surface on the existing property. And so as part of the conversion, we are proposing to substantially sort of greenify, if that's a word, which I don't think it is, but the property, and create quite a bit more pervious surface. Showing you the Earl's landscape plan, you can see that I just showed you that it was all essentially asphalt up to the building and the property line. Much of that is now green. Up on along the front of our building or the backside, more green. Replacing that, it says fire access if you ever drive by it or something close to that, replacing that pavement there, again with green. So we're significantly reducing the coverage on the site. In large part, that's because by going to multifamily and mixed use from professional office, the parking requirement for our site, we dropped from 65 spaces to only being required to have 35. So we're proposing to remove 30 spaces of parking to allow a lot more pervious coverage. And we're even putting in some pervious pavers. So, and one, I should, obviously it's kind of obvious, but by going from 65 spaces to 35 also means that the traffic is going to be far less, right? It's a much less intense use than the professional office use. And so there'll be no traffic impact. We are reducing coverage on the site by 8,000 square feet, adding over 50 trees, 100 shrubs, and nearly 500 grasses. Again, the building stays as is, sort of structurally, but with some, I think, significant facade enhancements that will make it a lot nicer. And I'll show you just a couple. Ray Sullivan will give you a little more detail on that, but these are some proposed renderings or perspectives of the fixed up building with canopies in black instead of the existing white. So we're also, as you saw, quite a distance from the water, so there's no coastal area management impacts. It's about 430 feet to the Norwalk River. You do have the CAM report as part of the file. Again, no adverse impacts. I do want to, at the end, I want to talk a little bit more about coverage issue for you. But with that sort of initial overview, I want to let the engineer, the architect, and landscape architect give you a very brief presentations. So I'll stop sharing, and unless you have an immediate question for me, I'll turn it over to Vince.
Hi, good evening. For the record, Vince Hines, licensed engineer with Redness and Mead, having offices in Stamford and Wilton. Our office has provided the engineering and surveying for the project here before you. As we go through, I'll be pretty brief, but if you have any site plan specific comments, I'd be happy to respond. So with that, I'll give a quick share of my screen here. So as Adam indicated, we have approximately 0.85 acres of total site area, of which most is impervious, given the parking lot and the building. From an impervious coverage standpoint, we're actually at about 92% coverage under the existing condition. There's no formal water quality treatment beyond having a couple of catch basins with sumps, and the runoff from the site, whether piped or via overland sheet flow, is tributary to the drainage system within East Avenue. So under proposed conditions, again, and you can kind of see it probably better via this coverage exhibit on our zoning site plan. We're reducing the zoning impervious coverage to about 69%. That's bringing the parking lot spaces into compliance with the standard size space and backup aisles, and increasing the amount of landscaped islands and just in total landscape areas. we're reducing coverage, we're reducing the curb cuts along East Avenue, by removing 2 curb cuts, and introducing kind of these, kind of office, kind of patio-esque areas, and then reducing by, 1 curb cut on Eversley, to this 1 two-way drive versus the 2 existing, one-way drives. In total, we're going from 65 non-compliant spaces to 35 compliant spaces. And via this reduction in impervious coverage, that's actually one of the methods of water quality improvement. Introducing more green, allowing some of that sheet flow condition runoff to cool off before it enters the city drainage system. And we're also introducing some permeable pavers on the south side of the building in a patio scenario, so that allows for some filtration of the immediate runoff to that area. And then one other thing we're doing on site is we're actually retrofitting kind of the existing catch basin with an oil burst separator, to provide some additional, water quality in the parking lot. In addition to that water quality, we're also, again, via the reduction in coverage, decreasing the peak rates of runoff, both rates and volume, up to the 100-year storm, as required by DPW's drainage manual. And then, DPW did provide some preliminary review comments, and I don't see any issue with them. We've actually addressed, I think, in your latest set, most of their comments, with one exception being that they just want a video inspection, of the existing pipe network to confirm everything's in good working order and that we can document the locations of all those pipes. With that, unless there's any questions, I'll turn it back to Adam and the team.
Thanks, Vince. Ray?
Yes. Okay. Good evening. This is Ray Sullivan of the Sullivan Architectural Group. We're at 129 Broad Street up in Milford. Although for years, my office was directly across the street from this building on East Avenue. So what we're looking at here is the building as viewed from East Avenue, whether or not you're leaving 95 and driving up to the town hall or in the reverse direction. So, as it was mentioned, there will be, no additions. We're working with the existing structure. The vast majority of all the work is internal renovation. Some of the traditional elements on this building, we're looking to change the aesthetic. So I don't have the original drawings. The building was probably built in the 60s and 70s. It's a good old structure, but it's a little tired now. And the intention is to kind of remove the shutters. We're going to replace all the windows. We're going to colorize these bands, and we are going to add a little bit of detail to the outside of the building that we think pretty drastically changes the look. So just quickly, here's the side off of Eversley, and here's a couple of shots of what it looks like from the parking lot. So quickly, that's the view from East Avenue, where I haven't duplicated or the landscape plan exactly. We're just trying to say that all that asphalt area is going in, it's green. And this is the view from the parking lot, the two-story section, and I'll jump back to that in a second. So that there are 3 floors. All the floors are approximately 9,200 square feet, gross square feet. So the existing first floor, which is already office, will remain office, as what you see here. It still has these ground floor entrances, for people, along the sidewalk, but the main access will be from up above. As is the majority of the access now, people enter from the parking lot, they'll actually enter the second floor. They'll take the elevator down if you're going to the medical office, or in this case now, with the control of key fobs, you can, enter the second floor or take the elevator or stairwells, up to the third floor. As mentioned, there are 9 units per floor for a total of 18. Each floor has 1 studio, 5 one-bedrooms, and 3 two-bedrooms. So that's the main entry lobby, and then there is, a small internal amenity space. Most of the amenity space is, outside on the perimeter.
Have you indicated which ones are the workforce housing units?
No, we haven't. But we can do that and then give that to Adam.
Okay, awesome.
In sections, the 3-story building, this area up here is the parking lot. So this area is completely buried. And here's the East Ave side where it is 3 stories. It's a good old structure. It's got a steel frame, it's got concrete floors, and it's got masonry exterior walls. So the building itself is in good shape, but it's just tired looking. So the intent, we're trying to kind of simply transform the look of the building, without, large additions or going extravagant on the outside. I think we've got a nice, simple, clean approach that significantly changes the aesthetics. So one thing we're going to do is Rob wants us to change all the windows. So those white shutters are gone, white windows are gone. All the windows that will be installed will be a black frame, and we're going to paint, all the sills. We're also going to paint the horizontal bands on the building. We've got one here, we've got one here, we've got one at the cap. Right now they're mostly white, and they really kind of stand out. In 4 locations on the long elevations, in 2 locations on the short elevations, we plan to remove the brick in between floors of windows. We're going to infill that with a cementatious panel. And then we're going to provide a horizontal aluminum sunshade. And we think that, that little bit of texture adds a lot to the building. We're going to redesign the entryways. There was, quickly back to the existing building, whether it's down on the first floor or up on the second floor, has these, more very traditional stone-like entryways. We're actually going to remove those, and as we remove the brick from some of these sections where we connect the windows, we're actually going to save all that brick. So where we have to infill it, we'll be using the same brick. So,
And the brick color looks different then. Is that just in the rendering it's different, or is the brick color going to be changed?
no, so the last, the last notation is that we want to simplify the color. So, we can't kind of in the rendering color every brick here. But what there is, in the existing building, there's a lot of white brick. No, I'm sorry, not a lot of white. There are accent sections of white brick, which is typical of a very traditional building. And our intention is to highlight the red brick, keep it a monolithic color as much as possible, and we're playing with, providing a stain or a wash on the white brick so that we can get it all to kind of wash together. So, can we get it all an absolute monolithic color? I don't think so, but I think we're going to take that color, which now is far more traditional with this sporadic infill of white here and there, and we're going to simplify it, and we're going to make it a little bit more monolithic, in color. And Adam, alluded to this earlier. Again, so on the long elevation, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of these sections. We do it both on the front elevation and the back elevation. One note is that currently there are 2 entrances in the back. There's one here and there's one over here. And so we've simplified that. We've created one main entryway, in the front. We've defined that with a canopy. And again, I think that helps us kind of clean up, improve the aesthetics and simplify the building look. So that's the extent of my presentation, unless I could answer some questions.
Earl? You wanna,
Sure. My name's Earl Govan. I'm a landscape architect with Blades and Govan in Fairfield, Connecticut. And we prepared the landscape plan for the property. I will share my screen. So as was mentioned earlier by both Adam and Vince, you guys can see that?
Yes.
Okay. The area to the left or to the west of the building along East Ave was pavement. It is now going to be a landscaped area, kind of designed as a breakout space for the businesses, as well as use for the residential units if they so desire. But it's an outdoor space that can be used by people who are working there. They don't have to go back up to the upper area where the residents have their spaces too. So they're basically paving stones with grass in between, little kind of informal areas to sit, both on the north and the south end of the building. That's at the lower level, at the East Ave level. The landscaping that we're utilizing is all native landscaping. As per the USDA, whether it's truly native or introduced. I think we have one species that's an introduced native, which is the Ilex crenata. But it's widely used and has been recognized by the USDA as being a introduced native to the area. Our street trees are all native. They're all Bohall's maples, which are more narrow. Since we don't have a lot of room, we do have some poles. So we like to keep a more tighter head on the trees, so they're more pyramidal in structure, and they're being introduced along East Ave to create a vertical rhythm as you walk down that area. Again, we have another small seating area at the lower level, and then the area to the north of the building, which was once all paved, again, will be landscaped to be a kind of a passive recreation area. There's a small seat wall. There's landscaping to provide some screening to the road. There's some benches and some string lights. And it could be used on multiple, recreational activities, or simply just sitting out and relaxing. It's not meant to be too active, but you could play cornhole or you could do something like that over there. Again, it's pretty heavily planted along the building foundation. With native plants. We have another recreation area at the other side of the parking lot, which is a similar space. Lawn area that can be used multifunctional. There'll be some benches. There'll be some cafe tables, possibly with some umbrellas and such. We have another small area created where we remove some parking and can again be used in a very similar fashion. The entrance to the building has a small little seating area for anybody who might be getting picked up. And again, there's a little transformer. We're trying to screen that as best we can. And then to highlight the main entrance by flanking a couple of trees on either side. We're transplanting both the cherry trees that are on East Ave now, and we're going to put those in the back. And we're also transplanting some of the grasses that are located there onto this side of the site. I think finally the area to the south of the building is kind of a protected area by existing trees, and the building in that area is designed to be an outdoor entertainment area, grill stations, dining. There's a screen across here, so it provides a little bit of screening from the units, and again, that's kind of its own little protected area. The refuse area is to the right, and then the continuation of the property goes off onto the Eversley Avenue properties. I think if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn it over back to Adam.
I'm not sure if the question is for you. Is the sidewalk being enlarged at all?
There's a sidewalk on East Ave that's going to be rebuilt away from, I believe the existing one runs right up on the curb. Is that right, Vince?
Yeah, so we have an existing sidewalk that runs parallel with East Avenue and abuts East Avenue. And one of the early comments that we received from TMP and why we show the green strip in Earl's plan here was that TMP requested a snow shelf, a landscape snow shelf, similar to some of the other properties as you go to the north of the site along East Avenue. And then we have a typical, so it's a 2-foot snow shelf with a 5-foot sidewalk per their TMP and DPW's standard requirements.
Thank you.
And the
Uh,
concrete,
and
the concrete
a
walk
que-
on Eversley will remain.
Correct.
Questions for the staff. I know this is just a site plan review, but do we have any authority regarding placement of solar panels on the roof?
We did reach out to the applicant about that. It's not new construction, so it's a little trickier than, yeah, if it was obviously a new build, yeah, I think we'd have a little different say on things. I'm not sure if there was a response from the applicant regarding that.
So if I may, that was relayed to us to take a look at it. And I know, Rob, the owner here has done solar on projects in the past, is sort of not opposed to solar in general. We did reach out to a solar consultant in the area, and it doesn't look like solar is going to be feasible at present. Part of it is that the Eversource program that would potentially, it's not even definitely, but that might make it possible, is oversubscribed. And it doesn't look like we'll be able to qualify for an Eversource program. So we're one, truthfully, you don't have authority to require solar. If we can make it financially work, we'll take a look into it. We're not sort of willing to agree to it, but we'll continue to evaluate it as the project progresses. And if solar becomes feasible, then Rob will jump on it.
Thank you.
Before we keep going, Commissioner Patras and Commissioner Williams have joined and we have room. So Commissioner Patras will also be seated at this point.
So I have a question.
Go for it.
Yes. So are there separate entrances for the medical staff personnel versus the tenants?
There's one main entrance, and the medical staff goes downstairs from there, and the residents through key fobs have access to the second and the third floor.
So the reason why I'm asking, because I'm concerned about safety and security. And so what are the office hours of the medical building? Do you know?
Yeah,
I don't know if they have set hours, but the key fob system will prevent people that want to access either employees or visitors on the medical floor. They won't have access to the floors above because they won't have a key fob.
Okay, thank you for that. Now, okay, so my second question is, for the second and third floors, is it just a stairwell or is there an elevator?
There's an elevator and stairwells.
Both. Okay, thank you.
I have a quick question.
Go for it.
I'm not sure who can answer it, but number 6, Eversley, the brown structure, and then you've got some dotted lines that look like parcel lines. And I know there was a driveway that looped in and looped out onto Eversley before. Who owns that brown structure and what looks like the land where you have some of your green space?
The same owner. It's the different entities, same ownership.
Okay, so they're in favor of what you're doing because they are one and the same.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and then that other driveway, that access that used to loop around will be eliminated?
There used to be, yeah. There used to be 2 here. one in
Right.
and one out, and this is an existing entrance that's gonna be maintained.
It is. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So I did have, I mean, if you have more questions, immediately fine. Otherwise, I just had a couple, maybe 2 more minutes to just discuss one other issue.
I have a couple of questions, Attorney Blank, just before we jump into that then. One was on the sidewalks. Was there a regrading for the sidewalk along Eversley, or will it remain the same grade?
Yeah, no, we're at the request of TMP and DPW. We're replacing sections of sidewalk, specifically where the existing curb cuts are being replaced, or we're adding the new curb cut, more centralized curb cut. But the sidewalk, say, as you go from that existing western curb cut to the intersection of East Avenue is remaining as is, and the only grading taking place is to account for the gap in grade between a drive entrance and a full 6-inch curb.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. I think another thing I saw in, I think it was staff notes, was about the screening of mechanical on the roof. Has that been addressed?
Yes, so right, so there was a staff memo, and yeah, I think the screening of new mechanicals on the roof was I think proposed condition of approval, which I don't think we have any issue with, Rob. If there's new mechanicals put in, that we'll screen them on the roof. I don't want to interrupt you, Chapin or Mr. Bryce, if you've got more, but
I think that's all. Thank you.
okay, so sorry. So yeah, there was a staff memo that you should have had. I think it's dated October 22nd. And I want to just talk about a couple things on there. This is a as of right use. It's permitted as of right. And the building, you have new regulations that govern pervious coverage, that govern architectural standards. But because this is an existing building and it's an existing parking lot, it's considered a pre-existing legally non-conforming. So we could keep it the same forever because it was there before the regulations changed. The use inside, because the residential use is permitted use here as of right, we could switch that out without making any facade changes on the building. And you couldn't say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't comply with our new regs for what the facades are supposed to look like because it's pre-existing non-conforming. And that same is true for the parking lot. None of that's is really sort of disputed. But we did make some changes, obviously, to the site to get rid of quite a bit of coverage. Your staff memo, I think, had a couple of bullet points in it. I think due to revised plans crossing with your staff memo, I know we've addressed all of the bullet points in the staff memo. I mean, you can confirm it with your staff, but all of them, other than there's one where we have still, I say, a little bit of a differing of opinion. Not necessarily, I don't know if that's true, but if I share my screen, so all of this, we have I'll skip the stuff. This bullet point has been addressed. The workforce housing plan was revised and resubmitted in an acceptable format. The third-party design review, that's not been sort of requested or pushed for. And because the building's pre-existing and we don't need to make the changes, if you wanted to do a design review, we'd probably just pull the design changes from the building so that you didn't need a review. But I think that the improvements are significantly an improvement over the existing conditions, such that a third-party design review is not necessary here. And then there's this issue about impervious surface. So as we said earlier, the site, we're dropping the coverage here, the impervious surface, by 8,000 square feet on the site. But in so doing, in making the changes, one of the questions asked was about the sidewalk here, whether this was being widened or changed. Well, TMP said put in a snow shelf, which means that the sidewalk, which was up by the street, now has to be pushed back a little bit. So when you're at the street under the current view, there's this little strip of landscaping here. Well, by putting in a large snow shelf and pushing the sidewalk off, it's gonna cut in a little bit on where that existing landscaping is. Similarly, with this entranceway, there's already a walkway here, but by straightening out, it does slightly change where the pervious and impervious line used to be. And there was a little more green over here than what's currently shown with this space and the receptacles. So we're not just removing impervious, although that's generally what we're doing. In 3 little spots, there's a slight changes to where pervious and impervious used to be. And so it's our view that both under your regs and under state law, that there's no issue with making those changes. Your regulations talk about impervious. It talks about like what is a parking area, and that's actually like a defined term. And you define these sort of pavement areas as improvements. And then in the same regs, they actually define structures as including, but not limited to, but including improvements. And then there are a lot of definitions here, but then you get to what a non-conforming structure, and a non-conforming structure under your regs, a non-conforming structure may be enlarged or altered if the result would be an increase in the extent to which the non-conforming structure conforms to these regulations. So we are making alterations to the non-conforming parking lot and sidewalk, but as a result of those alterations, the entirety will conform to those regulations much greater than currently exists. We're going to go from 90% coverage, which is way over, to I think it was around 60% coverage. Additionally, there's a state statute, and the state law, if there's a conflict between your regs and the state statutes, the state law controls. So the relevant state statute is 8-2D, and there's a fairly new piece in that one, which says, and this deals with pre-existing non-conforming uses, buildings, and structures. That's what this statute covers. And it says, and it didn't always say this, but it says that the demolition or deconstruction of a non-conforming use, building, or structure shall not by itself be evidence of such property owner's intent to not reestablish such use, building, or structure. And what that means is that if you literally demolish a structure that's non-conforming, a building that's non-conforming, a use that's non-conforming, but you intend to build it back in a way that's the same or less of a non-conforming nature, it's not considered an abandonment, and therefore you get to keep that pre-existing non-conforming status. And we've provided a letter to your staff, but there's case law on it that covers what I'm sort of telling you now. So we think that these 3 little changes are all within your purview under your regs and under the state statute. In fact, honestly, we've done everything we can to kind of bring the parking area into compliance with the current regs. We've added the shade trees, we've added the planting islands. Honestly, none of this is required because it's pre-existing non-conforming. We added them all to comply with your current regs. The snow shelf, we either put it in and move the sidewalk, or we don't, in which case we're in violation of TMP's condition that we put it in. This little area where we're straightening the walkway, we're willing to make that pervious because we can do that and accommodate that. So we can make like pervious pavers there. That's sort of reasonable. This area here doesn't work that way. So it's a slight tweak, but we just need it to stay as proposed. We think that this is fully compliant with the regs and state law. And obviously, I think we're trying to be as reasonable as we can in creating a site that's way, way better than what currently exists, with just a couple of little spots where we're moving pervious surface, impervious surface. That's kind of a complicated legal stuff, but hopefully it kind of makes some sense to you. And I think that the only other thing I will add is you do have a draft resolution to approve. And unless it's been changed from the version that I've seen, there are 2 conditions I just wanted to point out. On mine, it's 9 and 11. 9 concerns submitting a revised site plan, and 11 concerns complying with private landscaping standards. Those conditions related to prior to our revised documents being filed, and our revised documents satisfy those conditions. So I just want to make sure that it's clear that we satisfy those conditions currently, and we don't need to submit revised documents to prove that we comply with it, because we have complied with it. And I actually think they should just be removed, but I want that out there. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Do commissioners have any other questions for Attorney Blank or the team here?
Yes, I do.
It looks like, so hold on.
Yes.
Commissioner, go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, was there discussion about workforce housing?
We've submitted a workforce housing plan. There's 18 units being proposed of regular of housing in total. Under your regs, 10% needs to be affordable, and you round up. So we are proposing 2 workforce units. The specific units have to be approved by staff and haven't been designated yet, but we have submitted a plan in the city's preferred format.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Rowena?
Yes, Adam, I was wondering, would you be kind enough to pull up that site plan again that you had with the landscaping?
Sure.
And do you have the ability to run a cursor over it?
Yep.
Can you just show me where the line of title is on the East Avenue property?
On the
main
so
building
here,
that you're talking about.
you see,
So the brown building, the building that's on the right-hand side as I'm looking at it off Eversley Avenue, contains a lot of what you're showing as your landscaping and impervious mitigation plan. Am I right?
no, because this part is all on ours. It's all part of 153. And the numbers that Vince has given you were strictly for 153. Although we are adding green here. This already, I believe that already is grassed. I don't know if I have, yeah, so you can see that's already existing.
So where would the new line of where would it be where is it? I wish I could point.
Sorry.
Where is that line of trees that I'm looking at that runs next to the building? Yes.
That's on the 153 property.
And that's new or existing?
New. That's all new. And that's on our property. So that's up against the property line. Landscaped.
So is your other entity joining in this application so that this is going to be binding on both properties?
No, because we're not proposing to, no, they're not. They're a little complicated with the bank.
Okay.
So there are improvements on that property, but we're not taking credit for them.
No,
Right,
I
Adam?
understand you're not taking credit for it, but I mean, what authority do we have to order it?
You're
It's
not.
not part of the application.
Right, you're not.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Lankowski? Oh, you're on mute.
We can't hear you, Diana.
Oh, Diana, you're on mute.
No, she's muted if
I
her
think her
audio.
mic's not on.
Oh, is your mic off?
Yeah, Diana, check your click the little caret next to your microphone and see if that you could change your microphone.
While Diana is doing that, does anybody have any other questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just think I'd like to comment, if I may, that I think this is kind of a good reuse of a building and not a building that's not being torn down. Sort of
Absolutely.
a recycle, reduce, reuse idea. And it's adding to the housing stock. You know, I wish it was going to be condos, but I understand that it's owned in a different way, so it can't be that. But I think it's a good idea. Just wanted to say that.
Thanks.
Okay, hear you, Diana.
I think she signaled to move on.
Or did you try your volume?
Because it worked before.
It may be worthwhile to try dialing in as well, Diana, because we would love to hear you.
Yeah, make sure that your volume is turned up or on.
Go ahead. Okay. With that last call, any other questions? Okay.
Does staff have anything that they want to call out before we move forward with this?
No, I think the applicants covered everything pretty thoroughly. We had a lot of conversation about the determination of impervious surface and what the calculation should be versus the non-conforming aspect. But I think we came up with, a fair resolution and a fair layout of things. So, and I think the conditions are reflective of that.
With that, do we have a motion? Commissioner Rowena motions to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll
Commissioner
second.
Langella seconds. So we can go to the resolution, and if folks have comments about this or in general, this would be a good time for that.
Oh dear. Yeah, can you shoot
we'll
that
zoom
up?
in.
I'm looking at it on a
A
telephone.
phone. While zooming in, I really agree with what Tammy said about this project. Less curb cuts, more walkable, adaptive reuse, really, really great representation, I think, of the new regs working in a way that we want them to. 90% impervious to 60%. Like, that's huge. Like, that looks like something you'd want to walk past now versus now, which feels really scary. So,
And staff would ask to keep conditions 9 and 11 in just for our inspection staff post-development. It'll give them something to clue on to make sure everything was buttoned up.
okay. I have no
And Steve is, I'm not seeing it at the moment, but it's very difficult for me to read this. Is there listed as a requirement here, the need for approval by the staff of the both location and type of workforce housing units?
Brian, I don't see it on the ones listed as our board down below. I mean, 18 covers it because that's required in there, but we can
Right.
we can spell it out if you prefer.
Well, I'd like to see that it requires staff approval.
Okay, yeah, we can add that in there.
Steve, isn't that 17?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, you could say that.
Except that it doesn't say anything about requiring staff approval.
We can add in though. Brian, do you want to add something in around?
Yeah,
staff?
maybe
Yeah, that's pretty
Just
simple.
trying to figure out whether it goes in the beginning or the end of the motion.
after plan, Brian. Shall be approved by staff, should work.
I Zoom just crashed. Okay.
You got it in there excellently. Before we move to a vote, do anyone have any other comments they want to make
I have a quick comment. I agree with both what you said and Tammy said about this being a excellent looking project and the parking lot reduction is great. I just get a little bit uncomfortable when we get an application, and we've had a couple of these where contiguous properties are being utilized for one property and they're in two separate ownerships, and we only get to order one. But that having been said, I think that the improvements that were made are enhance the other building as well. So I hope everybody does what they say they're going to do on the other piece.
Yeah, on a note of comment, I'll echo some of the similar sentiments where it's great to see how this applicant has prioritized the permeable surfaces and reducing the amount of asphalt on this site. Driving by it many times a day, it's nice to see that, and living not too far from it, it'll be much better to walk by. So thank you.
Okay. With that, I think we'll move to a roll call.
Sure, and just to confirm, I want to confirm alternates are seated because I wasn't sure what were they
Yeah,
in.
I think everyone can be seated, right? Because we have numbers for everyone to be seated.
Yeah,
And-
so as
and
as
then-
long as they were there.
And then just need to confirm with Mr. Rowena and Ms. Langalis that they're okay with the revisions to the resolution.
Yes, I am fine.
Yes.
All right, I'll start with Mr. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Patches.
I will abstain. I wasn't here for the whole discussion.
Okay. Mr. Schulman,
Yes.
Mr. Rowena,
Yes.
Mr. Bryce,
Yes.
Ms. Jordan Byron,
Yes,
Ms. Langalis,
Yes.
Ms. Lankowski. Sort of a thumbs up, we'll call it a thumbs up. And Mr. Cantor.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
That unanimous.
Thank
Attorney
you.
Blanchard. Thank you. Look forward to seeing it.
Thank you.
Great. With that, number D is no longer on the agenda, which is great. At this point, Brian, I don't think we have anyone from 3 Raymond still.
No, I don't see her. And then just
Okay.
an update on that last one, 215 MLK, they withdrew their application. There were some issues with their submission being incomplete, and we were at the point of running out of time to open up a hearing. So we suggested to them that they withdraw their application until they can submit everything all at once.
Great. Next is 2024-32 special permit Angela Valentone 5 Blackberry Lane. This is a preliminary review. The goal of preliminary review is to just start the conversation and see if folks have questions. Staff, I think, may have some questions with this that they wanted to call out. So that's the goal here. It's not meant to be a full on presentation. And then also Commissioner Tabachnik, I see, has joined as well. Since we're not voting on this, no one needs to be seated. So with that, Angela, over to you. Maybe. There we go.
All right. So, all right. So my name is Angela Valentone, and we are asking for a special permit to start a residential care home. We had this idea because we saw the needs. We are registered nurses, and we've been a nurse for 19 years, 18 years, and we saw the needs of those elderly and disabled patients. And I have a patient before that, and a family that it's a history that the family the daughter is crying because she said, I cannot work. I don't have nobody to take care of my mom. And I was thinking, I can't help her because my house is too small, and it's not applicable for you know, it's just a townhouse. Now we bought a house that we see that we can help those in needs, especially for the elderly who lives alone, who cannot live alone. And we have the time, we have the experience to take care of them. And the Department of Social Service, we applied the Department of Social Service and they gave us an approval for this project. And it's they base it on our you know, they did a lot of studies about this. Right now in Norwalk area, I think we have 13 residential care home, 13, and the demand is increasing and the needs, because people, they as they get old, they need somebody to take care, especially if they don't, you know, especially that the family, they have their busy family and they need somebody to take care. This residential care home, we will house three residents, and that is based on the study of our physical consultant from the state. But usually it's 6 residents, but according to the consultant, it will still depend on the state. But based on my studies, it's only probably will be approved for 3 residents. And this will be overseen by the Department of the state. And our mission is to provide safe and practical options for residents as they age, that they have placement. It's affordable compared to nursing home, to assisted living. And even at home, we have patients that they're home, but it's really expensive to hire a private aide or a private nurse. So we have this idea that we can help out with this, take care of those who needs our care. And our services includes board and room, 24-hour, personal care services, giving medicine, as ordered, of course, by the doctor, and you know, activities of daily living, and those life skills, and they will have a recreational activities. Yeah. So yes, and yeah, this is what we're asking for, a special permit for us.
I think folks, well, let's start. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant?
I do.
Go right ahead.
Based on what I read in the news, the state is very concerned about the financial viability of healthcare facilities, especially when people pay in advance. And I read your DSS application and report, and it indicates that your facility would be financially viable with 6 beds, and your application is for 3. And I'm just wondering how you are reconciling that difference.
The Department of Social Service, it's up to 6 residents. Usually, a group home is up to 6. It's a small group of people.
I understand that the permit.
But 3, yeah, we come up with 3, sir, because it depends on it. We saw the guidelines of the state. It depends on the you know, how many available rooms. So according to the state, is only we are allowed for 3, and we hired a physical consultant that saw the house that yes, it's only 3 at this time.
I understand what you're saying. What I'm saying to you is that it appeared to me in reading the report that your financial viability was based on 6 clients, not 3. So I
No,
just think that, you know, before it's time for your formal application, that you should have all of your ducks in a row, so to speak, on that report and what you are proposing to us.
yeah, but Mr. Richard, the call is from the state. They can approve us for 2 patients, for 2 residents, 3 residents, 4, you know, but it's still the, you know, the answer is from the state of how many, how our, you know, will be qualified with this you know, square footage of the room.
I
So
think-
in
I
so
think
the
the
state will say,
concern-
okay, you can only take care of 2 or 3 residents.
I think the concern is if the application is coming in with 3, but what that number is, so it's not a sort of a switch on us that it's approving. Let's say it gets to the point of approval 3, but it's actually we're approving 6 or some version of that. I think they just people just want clarity around your
it's-
operations.
Yes, it's Mr. Nick, it says they're up to 6. Usually a group home is up to 6 residents. We have group home with 3, 4.
Understood.
You know,
I think the question is just, what is your intent? Is it 3? Is it 4? Is it 5? Is it 6?
It's 3.
And just understanding that, reconciling what the DSS report's saying, which it sounded like there was something around, unless you have 6, you're not financially viable, can be a little concerning to see that, thinking that you're going to need to get up to 6 to be financially viable. Maybe our understanding of that is incorrect, and it's, you know, at 3 you're financially viable, and that's what it's going to be. But that's just the question. Richard, do I have that right? Like the essence of, yeah, okay.
We will, yeah, Mr. Nick, we will have a private patient, and we can also get it from the state. They can give us a patient, a resident.
Okay.
I think it'd be worth following up with whoever your contact is at DSSS or DSS, DSS.
Department of Social, DSS,
and just confirming with them that your state application would be okay if you're only having 3 patients.
You know what, I don't see when it comes to feasibility, I don't see the difference, but if you have a 6 resident or a 3 resident, we're talking about that's compared to the nursing home assisted living. It's just a small group of people. I mean, resident at home. It's just like you in a house, you have mom and dad, the kids, you have grandma and grandpa. It's just, you know, it's just less than. It's just like a normal resident. It's just like a house.
But I don't think that you're understanding what the issue is. We're talking about the state's requirement that your plan be financially viable. So, I mean, you have to agree that if you have 6 patients instead of 3, your gross income is twice as much as it is with 3. And if the state is saying that you're financially viable with 6, it's hard for me to understand how that same statement can be made if you're only planning on 3. But all I'm saying to you is that maybe you're right, but it's got to be clarified with the state, because we can't get involved in approving your use and then having you say, well, the state says I need to have 6, so there's going to be 6 there. That's my point.
Is the DSS report on the application website for all of us to see, or is that found elsewhere?
Well, so in my reading, and I'm sorry to jump you off, to get on top of what you were saying, Anna, but in my reading on the background of it, on July 24th, 2023, the applicant submitted a letter of intent to establish a new 6-bed residential care home at 5 Blackberry Lane. So that was the intent.
Thank you.
Nick, if I may.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. Hi, Miss Angela. Just a couple questions. So when you bought the house in 2023, it was your intention to create this type of facility?
Yes.
Okay, and do you and your husband live there?
Yes, at the moment, yes.
And when it becomes this personal care facility, will you hire other people to help care for your patients?
At this time, me and my husband will do will take care of the
Okay.
residents.
All right, and unfortunately, I didn't have a lot of time to read up on the state requirements, so forgive me. But so is the state compensating you for the patients, or are they directly paying you?
The state, they have the Department of Social Service. It's according to them, they have budget for us that one resident is around 3,000 something.
A day?
No, a month.
A month, per month. So the state,
3,000, I mean, if it's 100.98 per day.
okay.
It's,
And
yeah.
And you as a registered nurse and your husband as the same have the qualifications to care for at least 3 people and possibly 6 people?
Yes, Mom, yes.
Okay. And do they stay there? I think you did say they stay there 24 hours a day. So it's not like an adult daycare where somebody's bringing
No.
an adult and dropping them off.
No, they stay in the house and there's a 24-hour care.
Okay. And are these patients expected to recover, or is this where they're going to live forever?
They will live forever.
They will stay with you forever?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless they decided to, not to continue with us.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And your husband is an RN as well?
Yes, he's a registered nurse, and he's also physical therapy. We have an experience in clinical setting, and we saw, we have right now we're working to take care of those elders at home. We go to the home and we go to assisted living and nursing home, and we see the difference. And we went to senior living center, and we discussed about nursing home, assisted living. It's so expensive. It's very, very expensive compared to the group home. And the care, the quality care, you get more better from a group home than in nursing home or assisted living. We saw it. We saw so many the difference between group home and assisted living and nursing home. Because nursing home is, let's say, for assisted living, that's a private pay. Private pay, the resident, they pay, that's without insurance, without Medicare or Medicaid. Nursing home, there's a certain criteria to get a service from nursing home. In order to be under the care, they have to look at your assets, or you pay privately. It's so expensive. So the group home, I know it's not yet, compared to the other states, it's not yet known as to many, but this is an option, affordable option to us, to those elders. Because there's no assurance. I don't know if, Miss Tammy, if you get there, if you can pay 15,000 a month in nursing home or assisted living. That's how expensive it is. But a group home, it's a half the price for private. You have a nurse that take care of you that, it's only a small 6 resident or less than, and in nursing home, they have a lot of residents.
Yeah, and
One
I don't,
nurse is what, 30 residents, 40 residents.
yeah,
The
I don't believe
quality care is more
anyone disputing
and
that. I'm sorry to cut you off, Ms. Cabanilla, but I
Yes.
think our goal here is to ensure the highest and best use of the land and also be mindful of the safety of the residents of Norwalk. So that's why we are asking these questions. We understand all of the other challenges as well. We spend copious amounts of time discussing housing and the issues that many people face, and we do see that, but we are primarily focused on the safety aspect of this.
Do any other
Yes.
commissioners have any other questions?
We did, just to chime in quickly,
Yeah,
Mr.
go ahead, Steve.
We did approve one of these probably 4 years ago. I can dig out the file on that, and it was a little contentious when it first went in with some of the neighbors who raised some concerns. And I think we had one complaint after they opened about, I think an ambulance had come fairly early on in the process. But after that, I haven't heard of any issues with that. And I think that one had at least 4 beds, possibly 5. But we can dig that out for you.
That may be helpful. Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting corollary between what we're thinking about with daycares as well. So, well, with that, I think unless anyone has any other questions, I think there's some clarification points that need to be made.
Besides
thought
you,
about. Oh, go ahead.
sorry. Besides you and your husband, will there be any other providers?
At this time now, it's only us. But if we see the needs, if we are capable of, we will get somebody that we can trust to take care of those residents. But at this time, the plan is me and my husband will work together for this.
And just for clarification, during the nighttime, how does that work? If it's you and your husband taking the sharing the shifts, or?
Yes, we have shifts. We have 7 to 7 and then 7, at night. Yes, we make sure that we have the 24-hour that oversee the resident with us.
That's a lot for 2 people, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Yes, especially if one or both of you get sick, considering,
We
the
can,
pandemic that we're
eventually if, we can hire, but at this time, we'll start with both of us.
Yeah, even, looking into on-call contracts and things like that, or temp healthcare agencies.
No, not agency. I don't trust agency.
I don't think we need to go
Okay.
deep into the operations right now. But okay, well, thank you. I think you've heard some of the concerns for you to think about, and staff is obviously available as well if you have questions before coming back for the special permit application.
Thank you.
So thank you so much.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Nick,
Yes.
I got a text from JJ indicating her phone died. She's in the process of recharging it. She hopes to
Okay.
get back online.
Likely story. Thank you, Lou.
Sure.
Okay, with that, I think we'll move on to the discussion portion of the agenda, which is, first one is the zoning regulations revisions, staff recommendations. I think this is just, staff is just going to give us an update where they are in the process, and then we can go from there.
Yeah, it can be super quick. All the referrals went out, so we're on time for, I think it's December 4th will be the hearing. We broke it down into 3 applications just in case there were issues with something that maybe was contentious or not contentious, so you could vote on those separately. But that's it. So we don't really have any other changes to talk about. I think the one area that will get a lot of conversation will be about potential tandem parking. That way I know, like with the 2 families, but other than that, I don't see too much that's super controversial.
Great, and I know TMP is also looking at the tandem parking thing, so we'll get that before our meeting and everything. Anybody have any questions on that process? Nope. Cool. Next item is 2025 meeting calendar. Steve or Brian, is this just?
Yeah,
need to
you-
do it?
Yeah, sorry,
do-
I sent you that draft calendar. I just wanted you guys to take a look at it before we approve it, make sure I didn't miss any holidays that we shouldn't be meeting on. I think I flagged them all, but I just sent you the draft to take a look.
Did anybody see anything, or do you want to bring it up now quickly?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. It looks like folks from the participants have their hand raised. At this point, we're not taking public comment on any of this. If you have questions, Steve, they can send it into staff.
Correct.
So if you can send it into staff, Steve, if you can drop the email address into the chat. Is there a chat? No, there's no chat.
It's on the website.
It's on the
And I
website.
think-
It's on the agenda sheet as well, I believe. Yeah, it looks to be on the agenda. Yeah, Steve's email address is on the agenda as well. So if you wanted to put your questions in that way, that would be the best way for you to get heard before the public hearing.
Do we have a tentative date for the public hearing on the application we were just talking to? I'm unsure if the raised hands are regarding 5 Blackberry.
December
Lane.
4th.
No, that would
December
be November 20th. Now, it did look like there's the requirement to post a public sign, that physical sign on the property for a public hearing. The applicant sent me a picture of that today. Some of the neighbors also sent pictures. It looks like it's probably not in compliance. It has to be within 10 feet of the front property line. It looks like it's further back than that, so it'll probably get delayed. I mean, they already posted the sign saying the hearing will be the 20th. So we could either open it the 20th and immediately continue, or we can just have them amend the sign. We'll figure that out.
Okay. Yeah, just in case those 2 people are interested in that, or
Sure.
the
thought.
updates. So it sounds like either the 20th or the 4th for both of those items. Thanks.
Um,
And
I
on the
don't have
calendar, we have until, your next meeting to approve this. So
Okay,
yeah,
so if folks take a look at this, if there's any concerns, comments, let Brian know, and then we can approve it next time. Comments of the director. Steve, did you have anything?
No, I don't think I have anything further.
Okay, I had
Oh,
the two
no, I
things.
do. Sorry.
Go ahead.
I thought of something. The draft of the affordable housing plan actually should come out by Friday. Just kind of inserting a few new pictures and then just putting the document together, but the draft should come out Friday. So we'll send you guys a copy. So there's a committee that's looking at that, but I think maybe what I'll try to do, working with the chairman, is see if we can get see if it makes sense to have like a joint meeting between this commission and Common Council, because I know there are a lot of folks on that group that are very interested in the plan as well. So we'll maybe work to set that up. That way the consultant can just present it once, everybody can ask all their questions, and we can go forward from there. Ultimately, it'll end up with probably a very small revision to the citywide plan to incorporate that in, so we could look further at some of the recommendations in there.
Great, that's a great idea. And then Steve, the 2 things you wanted me to bring up in this part. First, if you can give an update on sort of enforcement actions and the improvements or things that have been happening on that. I thought this was just there's been some good developments on this, so I know the public's always really interested on this, so Steve thought it'd be a good time to also comment on it as well.
Sure, yeah, so we did, we've had a little bit increase in staff. We're hoping, we have one more person we're hoping to bring on beginning of December, and that'll free up one of the other folks whose main job is supposed to be doing enforcement, but they're doubling duty right now, doing enforcement and permitting. But we have added a second hearing officer, so you're seeing a lot more movement on stuff working through the process, and we've kind of redoubled our efforts to try to get out there and respond to new complaints that come in. We prioritize certain types of complaints over others just based on what they are, what their potential impacts might be to the neighbors. Sometimes, like 2 weeks ago, we got referrals in from the fire marshal about illegal apartments. So we got about, I don't know, it was like 8 or 10 of them all at once. So it's kind of hard to just fit them all into the system and then just get all those new complaints out, but we're trying to get them into the queue, into the system as soon as possible so we can get as much of it addressed as quickly as possible. That's kind of where we're at.
Well, that's great, because I know that's an area that folks have usually a lot of comments on. Does anyone on the commission have questions about enforcement?
I just have a quick question on what Steve just said. What authority does the zoning people have when they go to a building and want to inspect it?
So if it's, assuming it's private property, we have 0 to none. We can go like anybody else. I can go knock on the door and say, hello, I'm Steve from the Planning and Zoning Office. We've got a complaint about this. We'd like to inspect or talk to you about it. If they tell us to leave, we have to leave, because at that point we're trespassing. If we can see it from the public way, then it's a different matter, or a complaining neighbor gives us access to their property to, like, if it's in the backyard and you can see it from their backyard, something like that. But if they don't want to let us on the property and tell us to leave, we have to get off.
And then what?
Then we would send, if it's not something we can verify without them giving us access, we can send an inspection request and see if we get any traction there. We could always try to apply for an administrative warrant through the courts, but we have to have some kind of proof that there's something going on there first. It's not an easy thing to get a warrant to get onto a property if there's not any cause.
Interesting. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else have any questions about enforcement?
This is more on the aquifer side of things, but I know we had talked about bringing something to the ordinance committee as far as enforcement for the Aquifer Protection Agency. Did we have any headway on that? Not sure where that's at. Yeah.
I'll let me check with Alexis on the latest, but I know they did talk about it. I just don't know the status exactly where it is.
Thanks.
Anybody else? And I thought that it'd be good from time to time, we'll have updates on enforcement as things pick back up so we can just get a sense of how that's going. The second thing I wanted Steve to give an update on is sort of the plan to address the letter we received from the mayor on parking. So Steve, back over to you.
Sure. So we did, we've had some conversations with the mayor's office and TMP, excuse me, about, the reduction in parking that went into the new regs, particularly the exemption within the C4 area. And they asked us to, take another look at that, consider it carefully, just making sure there are not any undue impacts based on that. So what we thought we could do is look at maybe a build out analysis of the area in question and see what the potential build out is, and then look at what the city's capacity within those areas is, and as well as looking at where there are problem areas today and see if it makes sense to revisit that regulation. So we're kind of starting that build out an analysis piece now. We've done it in the past a few different times when we did zoning changes in the West Ave, Wall Street area. So we have a lot of data on that. So we'll go back and revisit that, see if it still holds true, and then sit down with TMP and look at capacity and then choke points in the system and see if there's any changes we should consider at this point in time. And then, the other piece of it is evaluating projects as they come in to see, are projects within that zone proposing no parking? We haven't seen any evidence of that yet, even on developers who I thought might go that route. And then we'll look at the, where they are reducing it from previous standards or eliminating it. What are the actual impacts? So we're kind of taking a two-pronged approach to it.
Awesome. Do folks have any questions on that?
Have we seen any new developments come through that are finished now that have these newer parking regulations to notice if they've made any difference?
No, nothing. The only project that's really been approved under the new regs was the Isaac Street, the extended stay hotel. That's the only significant project. Everybody else is kind of on a smaller mid-scale. I don't think anything's actually come online of any size yet under the new regs.
What you
Okay,
are
and-
seeing though, Tammy, is these projects, at least this one, the Isaac one, and there, I think there's maybe one other one, becoming more viable because the parking's less. So that's the other side of it, is like the goal of getting more bodies into Wall Street.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good evidence way of going about taking a look at this. It's been a year, so I think it'll be useful data to look at.
Yeah. This is Steve, this is just a question for you. Is it possible for you to either sit to your left or to your right? Your light is like right down in your face, and I can't see you, and I would love to see you more participating while you're talking.
I thought I was very angelic in
You were definitely angelic, whatever other term we could use.
I've heard a lot of them, so no, I need to get better. I need to get better lighting. It doesn't, whatever I try doesn't work. And then if I go in the other room, it doesn't work. So I promise to get better.
Let's get a piece of white foam core.
Yeah.
We'll send Hector to your house, Steve. He'll fix it for
Maybe
you.
Santa
I
could
could do
bring you
that.
one of those lights for Christmas.
Hector's probably expensive, so I'll have to figure something out.
No. The hack is you could have a piece of white foam core that's going to reflect the light that you have from the back. And that's it. Like right now, my setup, I'm getting like raccoon eyes because I have a light right above me, which I should fix that. But it's little hacks.
Right. Next time I will.
Expensive.
Yeah, my light's giving me gray hair, so nobody.
Yeah, that's what's happening here too.
Yeah. Mine too.
Okay. Comments to the commissioners?
Go ahead.
I have just a quick one. Gonna miss Nancy Chapman.
Yeah.
Sad.
Mine is sort of news related as well. On Monday, I attended a press conference. I think it was covered by Nancy on Norwalk. I'm not sure if it was covered by the Hour, and I'm not sure that it's been in the Hour. But the city has received a federal grant of $14 million to improve Martin Luther King Drive and some of the streets around Martin Luther King Drive. It's one of only 2 such grants in the state. And they're going to break ground on this by August. The 2 senators were there, and they were promised that would take place. So that might open up Martin Luther King Drive for, might make it a little more attractive for some development. So I was pleased to see that. The second thing I wanted to address to Steve, and that is how close are we to the legal department providing us with some additional training?
I just emailed Mario yesterday. I haven't heard back yet, so it's on my immediate things to follow up with him on. Hopefully I have an answer for you by your next meeting.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Did anyone else have anything else that they wanted to? Chapin, go ahead.
Yeah, had a couple. So on the note of updating the zoning regulations, I think these updates are kind of like not things we have to go get approved, but they're like formatting related. So like I remember first time around talking about like adding like hyperlinks, for example, on the table of contents page, so you could jump more easily to a given section, or for the definitions, so you could jump to the definitions area. Just to help folks navigate the document. So I wanted to flag that. The other thing I wanted to flag is I really like the improved landing page on the zoning website to help folks kind of navigate and figure out what applies to their properties. And similar to how we broke Article 4 into smaller pieces for the use table and called it out specifically, I was wondering if we could do something similar on the zoning website for each of the various districts. So that way, somebody in CD1L could like click on that link and just see those couple pages related to them, and somebody in CD4 could do the same, just to make it a little bit easier for someone to digest, because Article 4 is a beast. And so where we can make it easier for someone to navigate, someone who hasn't read it a few times like us, I thought it'd be great to be able to divvy that up. And I think it's a small formatting change, hopefully, but just wanted to call those out.
Yeah, we should have published it already, but we have actually put together if you remember the old bulk and height table. So it'll be like a table of all the zones and what the height is. So that kind of will function for that piece of it. I don't, it doesn't need to get down to some of the nitty gritty things about the landscaping standards, I think, but it'll have here's your setback, your height, density, and all that would be in the table. So we'll have that out there soon.
Great, wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Steve, have you seen any impact in the flood related 25% 5-year look back rule yet? Is that had any, have you had some happy people or some unhappy people applying for, possible lifting their houses?
I haven't, well, I can tell you this, I have not gotten any complaints about it. So we used to get a lot of complaints about the old regulation. It was usually like once a week we would get like, this process is tedious. So I haven't heard any complaints. I'll check with Tammy Maldonado, who deals that with like on a daily basis, but I haven't heard anything yet that what we've implemented is not working.
Related, has anyone submitted a house raising since
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
good. Okay.
Yeah, we have had a couple. I think, if you've got the means, it makes more sense because you have a lot more freedom to do what you want.
Yeah.
Someone from Harborview actually praised us on it today.
Oh, there you go.
Specific.
From where?
The here, Harborview.
Oh, good. They have a lot of houses that need to be lifted in there, but they have lifted quite a few.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else have anything? Seeing none, I'm open for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think I heard Commissioner Rowena and Commissioner Bryce second. All in favor? Can you do this by show of hands? Fantastic. We're done by 8. Woohoo. Thank you all. Our next meeting is on the 20th of November. So see you all then and be well.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.